Hi everybody, welcome back. So this is the fifth video in this series of this cute little art journal that I made myself. Then I did the gel plate printed tissues, and I put those all inside here. And now I just wanted to show you what you could do to embellish those even further. As much as I like the book as it is, I like to take it a step further, and I pulled aside some of these really fun prints here, especially this gold one. And these ones here, they look like amoeba or cells. I don't know, but they're really fun. And I thought the book has got some beautiful earthy colors with the blues and golds and everything. And it's not colors I usually work with, but I thought I'd stretch my I'd test myself and try new things. So that's what I did. And now I've got these, and I'm going to use them to enhance each of the pages of my book and perhaps bring out a story that wants to come out. As much as I love the pages as they are, I think they're wonderful. You could take this book and perhaps paste quotes in it or add stickers or do whatever. But I just want to go a little further and make each one, instead of looking like just a book of prints, I want it to tell stories. And I started off with this gold, this embossed gold that I've got in the book. And these were made from the same stencils used in all the work that's already in the book. But I'm going to isolate some of this, and I chose this page that's got all the gold there, this spread, because this is just something that would be complementary. It's not jarring. It totally matches because it's made from the same paints, but it adds a new element, a new layer. And if you've watched my videos, you know I love to make layers and create levels of depth. So I cut apart 3 of these circles or oval shapes, and I'm going to glue them down with matte medium and then go a little bit further with this spread. Just because, like I say, I liked it as it was, but I want to develop more of a story. And also, I just want to show you that you can take things, and what I'm trying to show you is how I look at a page and a spread and how my mind works with how I want to bring out a story that seems to want to come out. It's all intuitive. I could do this in a month later and I would probably come up with different options. Every time I do it, like I say, it's very intuitive. It's my gut reaction. It's my gut instinct. And that's what I'm showing you here. It could change at any time. You might see something different. I encourage comments if you do. But anyway, let's go forward here. So I'm using matte medium to paste down these ovals that I cut out, these circles. And it looks a little dull right now, partly because of the lighting and the way the page is sitting. They are iridescent slightly, not quite as much as the paint on the page background. But anyway, I'm gluing them down for you, and then I will show you how I want to even enhance it more by creating more layers and depth. It's quite delicate. Now, normally you see that I cut around tissue prints by using a wet paintbrush with clean water, and I tear it that way and make an organic edge. But because this is a shiny iridescent gold background, if I was to do that, you would see the fuzzy edges of the paper and it wouldn't look crisp and clear. And so that's why I cut around each one. So I've got my iridescent bronze, which was used for the prints and it was used for the background of the page already. But I want to use that on a top layer now over those ovals. Actually, no, I'm going to do that later. What I'm doing now is I want to bring out a third color that works in harmony with these without being jarring. So I'm just sort of playing around with combinations of blending colors to get a color that I think will pop ever so slightly on the page, and that one does it. I'm adding a little bit more of the Quinacridone Nicolazo Gold, which is quite orange and rusty, and that was enough to bring out a color that I like. And I'm going to paint that on with a small flat brush, and I'm using a flat brush that's got a square tip so that I could get in and work around the basket weave of that the navy colored basket weave yarns, if you will, from the tissue print that was down there. I want to keep the integrity of that print, but I want to use this brush to paint this background color now, and it will shoot this new color into the background, and this navy blue basket weave, that will sort of pop to the foreground. Now I'm not doing that all over the spread. I'm just finding random areas. The idea here is to bring up about a new color as a bit of a complement accent, if you will. But it's also to draw the eye around the spread. I like when I do a painting or an art journal or anything I work on, I like the eye to move around the page. There's a lot of busyness here, and I like to sort of trick the eye into following a pathway of where to look. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm creating a pathway with this new color. I'm not going to do it everywhere, as I said. I'm going to do it in certain areas just to move the eye around. And I have fun at this point. This is the point where I get into real mindfulness, my Zen moment, if you will. It's just I get into my mojo and I got lost in the moment. I don't have to create anything because everything's already there on the page. All I have to do is enhance and bring out what I want to bring out. So I'm working around the center area here, and I'm delicately going around the edge of that circle. What I'm trying to do is bring out this flat color now and completely go around the edge of that circle so that eventually that circle will look like it's popping forward. I've sped this up so that you don't get bored. I do a lot of editing for you to speed things up so that you don't have to do fast forwarding. I do that for you, and it cuts the time down and it keeps your interest in what I'm doing. So here I am just I started off with a pathway along the bottom. Now I'm working, I brought the eye towards the center, and now I'm going up the center area here. And again, I'm going to do fill in all this center area with a good coating of this new color. And again, I'm working around the border of this bigger oval so that it really defines that oval. Once this is done, that oval will definitely pop forward a lot more. And again, this is just like taking a coloring book at this point in coloring. And I always loved doing that as a child. And I'm showing you with arrows that I've decided at this point now I'm going to go up that area, that strip. I'm going to take those on the one side that I circled there, I've got them going in a crisscross up and down, left and right, but not every single one of them. So what I'm doing here right now is drawing the eye back from the left over to the center. So as you look at this spread, when it's all done, the eye will move around where I want it to. It won't just see the whole spread as a busy spread and not know what to think. So it is creating a pathway. I like that. It shows up even better when I do the next part, which will bring forward some new, fresh iridescent paint over top part of those circles. And that will really make, because right now they look a little dirty. I do like the distressed pattern on them. It looks a little bit cellular and all that, but I am going to do a little bit of gold on just parts of them to make them pop out. I say gold, but it's called iridescent bronze, but you know what I mean. It definitely comes out as a gold. So I'm going to do one side fairly heavy there, making sure I get a good coating right along the edge, and then I'm smushing it down so that it kind of blends with the middle of the oval. But at the edges here, I'm going very heavy with the paint, because I really want it to look like separate circles sticking up on the top, floating to the surface, if you will. Especially when you move the paint around and you see the glistening, the iridescent shine of this paint. I don't normally do a lot of iridescent gold and shimmer. I'm not a bling person, but again, this I'm trying to do new things with my channel all the time and with my career. My career, I'm retired now, but I'm always trying to learn and grow and try new things. So I'm willing to try this whole color palette that I don't normally use. It is a beautiful color palette. I normally use very happy, cheerful colors, but again, I'm trying new things as well. I'm trying to teach you to do new things, so I thought I would do it myself. Again, I'm kind of treating the one half of these circles as a very heavy, dense coating of this color, and then letting it just smush and fan out and blend towards the rest of it so that it makes sense. It goes from heavy paint and disappears into the texture of the oval that was glued down. So I start off with one half. I don't add more paint. I just smush it around and smudge it. I like that. It's fun. I think that needed to, now it tells a story. Even though I don't know what that story is, you might find a different story than me. And what I'm doing now is there's a hint of white on the on the right side here. And I wanted to balance the white on the spread because there's so much on the left. I thought I'd add a little to the right, but not with great intensity. I'm just doing it randomly and very distressed. And I'm trying to reach the edges of that circle and then fan out there so that it looks like the circle is definitely, that the white was there all along and that the circle got glued over top. So again, I'm just adding a hint of white over to the right side of the spread to draw the eye up there, but I'm not trying to do it with the same impact as on the left side of the spread. And I think that's what the spread needed. I hope you agree. So now I've got a new spread that I'm trying to decide what to do here. And I thought it would be fun to get this font stencil, and I will give you a link to this stencil because I was able to find it. I did buy it on Amazon, and I was able to find in my orders this actual order so that I can share with you the link. I really, really do love this stencil. Mask, I guess you would call it. So everywhere that the stencil in white sits on top, that masks and covers the background colors. So all that navy blue and bronze and green, all of that is going to show up in the scribbling of this mask. And the white areas, this is molding paste, by the way, and all the white areas are going to cover it. So I think that's really fun what happened there. I let it dry, and now I'm reapplying the mask in the very same spot, and it's easy to sit there because it's got grooves. What I wanted to do is make it a little bit thicker of the molding paste on the outer edges, fanning out towards the top, right, and bottom, so that it makes the impact of the letters and the scribbling more obvious. I'm using a flat card to flatten it out, spread it out flat, and then I'll peel the stencil back. And I like that. It's improved it. It's made it really more dramatic, all that scribbling. And that's dry now because I've sped this up. What I want to do now is fan out some of that bronze with a very flat fan brush. And I'm not adding any water. This is dry on dry, is what you call fresh paint over top of a dry surface without adding any water or liquid. And I'm just delicately, I'm fanning it out so that it doesn't get into the grooves. All those channels that were made from the stencil and the molding paste, I want to keep them as that dark background, and I want this bronze color to just float over the surface. So that's why I'm using this brush, and I'm holding it to the side so that it goes as flat as possible, and you can see how it's not going into the grooves. I think that's fun. What I'm doing is tying the left to the right side of the page in a way that makes a bit of sense. I've got a stencil with scribbling on the right and bubble wrap dots on the left, but somehow I tie the two together in this paint. I overdid a little there. I thought I'd spray some water while it's wet and dab some of that back. And I'll use a small brush to bring out the detail that I want to. Anyway, I like showing you new techniques, And again, this is just mindfulness for me now. So I'm using a very tiny brush with quite a point, and I'm just I'm trying to get into the exact areas that I want rather than using the fan brush over top. It's a slower way of doing it, but I don't mind. What I'm doing is with a small brush is I'm able to pick out exactly, isolate the areas that I want to touch up. Whereas the fan brush just brushed over all of it. I'm really happy with what happened with this molding paste and stencil and how, so what I've got now, you couldn't take a brush, you couldn't paint the page gold and then get a navy brush and paint all that scribbling because it wouldn't be this effective because that scribbling is all switching from navy to green to bronze. It's all iridescent and moving in color, and that's because of the layers that were done before. And then staying true to the integrity of that by using that mask to bring that forward. Now I'm just touching up a few of those balls, the bubbles, just to bring out a little bit more bright gold because the right gold that I added on the right here is all fresh and very shiny, and I wanted a little hit of that shine up on some of those those ovals. So I'm just doing a few little touch-ups, trying to make it more enhanced where some of the shapes and letters and scribble are. I like that I brought some navy to the middle of the page to balance the navy on the left side of the page with the bubbles, the dots. I'm adding water to that to make it a little bit runny so that it will run down into the grooves of the scribbling. Remember, there's molding paste there. It's quite thick. So these are little channels. And so I'm using a very fine brush so that it fits within those channels. And I'm not doing this everywhere. As you'll see when I pull back out of the zoom, you'll see how it makes sense. I'm just drawing the eye into that area and balancing the right side of the spread with the left, even though they're doing different things. I'm bringing the weight of the navy color into the middle of the right side. And I quite like that effect. I like playing around with depth and effects like this. It gives me a lot of joy. And I'm usually listening to my favorite playlist and just getting into my zone. And I call my channel Painting for Your Soul because it's all about taking time out to just play, experiment, try things. Don't be hard on yourself. Don't have expectations. Just play and learn, which is what I did with this book. Like I say, I don't usually use these colors. I'm just trying new things and I'm learning from it and I'm enjoying it. So what I'm doing now is the top left had navy going to the top edge of the page. Now I want to bring some navy to the bottom right of the spread to balance that. It was a little heavy there, so I took a wet wipe and flattened it out and took away some of that excess navy. Now I've got a new spread, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do, but I thought there's a crisscross there with a weave, and I thought I'll bring out a stencil that I didn't use in my prints, but it's a stencil I think is fun, and I'm going to fill this with molding paste to do something completely different on this page. And I've edited it and sped it up so that you don't get bored. You get the idea. You already know by now how I spread molding paste with a stencil. And also I'm being very careful right there in the center fold of the spread. I didn't want any molding paste. It's too heavy and thick, and when it dries it would make it hard to open and shut the book. It would crack there. So I just stayed away from the center fold. Now, when I did that final scrape, oh, and by the way, there was a bit of a mess when I pulled it back. So I used a flat silicone brush to scrape away any excess molding paste while it's wet. And that third on from the right square, a rectangle there, has a bit of a ridge. So I used sandpaper there once it was dry to smooth that out. So now I've got, again, that bowl of that color I've been using. and I like that color. What I want to do is I want to do a gradation of color on this. On all those shapes I just put down with molding paste, I want them all to be a different color, but gradations of the same two colors. So I've got that gold that's in the bowl there, and I've got fresh out of the tube the that dark rust color, which is Quinacridone Nicolazo Gold. I've got those two, and now I put the two together to make a mid-tone. And I'm just adding more and more Quinacridone Nicolazo Gold until I get it dark enough that there's an obvious difference between the three colors. And what I'm eventually going to do is develop a range of 5 colors here that I can use. Now I'm using more of that color from the bowl, and I'm going to add white to it to make it slightly lighter. Again, I'm just making different hues of the same two colors. I'm just trying to count through to see how many colors I need. So if I have 5 colors, the darkest ones, I'm going to, with the middle of those rectangle shapes are going to be the darkest Quinacridone Nicolazo Gold, the true color out of the bottle, and the rest of them are going to fan out with these colors I've created from that. So I've got 5 colors. I'm going to end up with 2 center colors being the Quinacridone Nicolazo Gold, and the rest all being single colors working their way from light to dark. So I'm just going to start off showing you how I use this. This is a bigger flat, straight edge flat brush, and it's really good to use when you want to paint with rectangles and stripes and things that need good flat straight lines. So I turn the book around to get the other side. Again, this is the outermost 2 rectangles, and now the second in are the slightly darker yellow. And I'm editing this for you so you don't get bored. Now I'm going darker and darker. And it's not as if this is telling me any kind of story, this spread, but it's completely different than things I usually do. And that's the purpose of this book. And I thought, whether it says a story or not, it almost looks like piano keys or a xylophone or something. It's just having fun and experimenting. And it's really a bold pop. So as I said, I had 2 extra squares and rectangles in the middle that I used the darker color. Now I've got something fun, this really white background. This one with the gold that I'm placing over top with the tissue print, it was made from the one was the ghost print and one was the first pull on the Gelli-plate. And I'm putting the 2 back together because they perfectly match because they were made from the same stencil mask. I just wanted to do something different with this page. So I'm putting matte medium down as my glue in the area that I'm going to need. I'm doing the full left side of the spread and then having that overlap the right spread and the top only on one circle. I like the idea of the bringing the eye across and trying to camouflage the fact that there's a middle center line on the spread. And that's why if I don't just do one side and then the other, I've got that extra one on the top right there of the page that overlaps to the right spread. And I just think that makes it more interesting and allows the eye to move around the spread. Now, when I did some extra gluing there, I added a little more glue at one point in that right there. I had the glue and then I went and smeared that with my finger and it disrupted some of that tissue print there and it's kind of dangling. I will, and you'll see that there's a lot of work I'm going to do in the next few minutes where that stays as it was. Don't worry, I did correct it. Now what I did was I cut out the stripes that were, I just thought, let's make some stripes across this big one. Again, I don't normally do things like this. I'm really playing with new options, stretching my limits, having fun, and seeing what results I get. I'm not being hard on myself and saying this has got to be perfect. Again, I'm just learning and growing. So I put a good coating all throughout that oval, and now I'm placing these stripes down. I used the scissors, but everything was too wet and smushy, so it's better just to tear it with my fingers. At this point, I didn't know if I was going to keep a white background or not. I work intuitively, and I just work as I go, and when an idea comes to me, I just go with it. I don't question it. I don't overthink it. So I'm starting off with just keeping the white, and we'll see what happens. But I discovered as I got this far that the white side of the spread, it's not heavy enough to balance the left, so I will add a color. I love the bubbly image of those stripes. It's really fun. It obviously matches the bubbles in the left side in a completely different way, so therefore it works all over the page. There, I fixed that eventually, even though I didn't do it yet. I did later on fix it. So I've got that same color I've been using now as a touch-up in my bowl, and I thought I'd like to use that, but it's too dark, too deep. I don't want it that dark, so I'm adding more white to it. All of these colors are going to work with each other because they're all made from the same colors. I'm just making them lighter and darker in hue. So I'm adding quite a bit of a fluid white, and I'll blend that right on this card I'm holding because why not? But yes, the goal is to add a color, but not dark, not too dark. I was kind of trying to match the weight of the gold in the left side of the spread, but not have the iridescent gold. I'm trying to have a new shade of yellow, but the weight of it, the value of it matches fairly close to the bronze color in weight. If you were to squint your eyes, you could look and see that they're two different colors, but they work together as far as like one's not dominating the other. I guess I hope you understand what I mean. Squint your eyes and take a look at it and you'll see what I mean. There's a balance between the weight of these colors. I'm not filling in the stems between all these circles everywhere because I don't like perfection. So I'm just I'm doing the stems there from reaching from the ones I'm painting into the striped one, but I won't be doing much with the stems on all of them. I did do those, but where those gold yellow circles touch the other tissue printed cellular ones, I am not going to add yellow to those. I want to keep it looking unfinished and distressed like the rest of it. Now, I don't want to paint in all of it. I want to just randomly pick a few of these circles and smudge a little bit of the yellow in part of those, in just a couple of areas up here in the circles, but not overdo it, just to bring the eye up to the left side of the spread. And I think that works. I think that's kind of fun. So all those three areas that I just circled have bits of distressed white in there as well, and that kind of matches what's happening in the story. It's different. It's not what I usually do, but I don't mind it. This page I love. Now there's quite a band of white down there in the middle there, and I want to add molding paste on with this new stencil here. Well, it's not new, you can see I use it a lot, but I want to do these wonky squares everywhere in white molding paste so that they cut, and what I want them to be is random, but I want a weight of it to reach that center area that had a lot of white paint in the background, so that when I pull the stencil back, you'll see that it blends perfectly into that panel of white in the middle of the whole spread at the fold line, and then it bounces off to the right into very strong predominant squares. So you can see that the squares that are predominant on the right match with, go over to that white area in the middle and disappear. So what I'm doing now is just while it's wet, I'm scraping away with my fingernails some of that excess molding paste that isn't a square, it's just remnants. So I like this, and what I'm going to do is leave them. I don't have to paint them white because they're already white, and I like that. So I'm giving it a good blow dry. That I did fix, as you can see now. That I love. This page here, I'm trying to decide. I wanted to bring a little blue, light blue into it because I want all these pages to work together, and they've all got blue on them except that one. So I thought, let's bring a little blue, a little bit of blue in, and paint over those navy blue areas, just to soften the look, because I find it's a little too busy. I didn't really like the effect. At the time I thought I would do that, but now that I see it, I want to add a lighter blue. So I don't know that I love this even as a lighter blue. I still find it busy and confusing. I don't think it tells me what I want it to say, or it's not coming out as I want it to be. It's still too confusing for me. So I decided, I think I'm just going to paint it all over solid blue in all these white areas, but only on the bottom half of these ovals. The top half, that top strip across from left and right, I'm leaving that white. And I like that. So the top strip of white ones also has those distressed bubbles everywhere. And the bottom chain of ovals, I'm keeping solid blue. And I think that's fun. I think you'll agree it balances with the book. It ties in the blue because there were 2 pages in a row with a lot of gold. In between sessions, please keep your book open like this so the pages don't stick together. This one's a lot of navy, and there's no gold, there's no other orange colors. It's kind of standing on its own, and I feel like it needs to have some of that beautiful bright Nicolazo gold and orange to match what's happening in the rest of the book, and also to tie into the covers of the book, because this is the first page that opens up. So I really do want to have a little bit of this beautiful orange color. I love that color. I think it's wonderful. So let's just continue painting and see what we can bring out of this. I just get the brush out and I just start working around the page randomly. Again, this is all instinct. I don't overthink it. I just start going, and whatever, it's almost like it's just happening on its own, and I'm not planning it. I'm just sort of working around and deciding what I want to bring out and what I want to leave. So I'm using a very delicate little brush so that I can find just thin little strips that I want to bring forward. I like the randomness of this. It's very random. I'm just working, and again, this is just to add a new dimension of color, and it's adding new layers of depth as well to the spread. And it's allowing the eye to move around, because before I started this color, it was just navy blue and white and very busy, and it looked okay. I liked it, but I didn't know what it was saying. And I didn't know where my eye wanted to go to scrutinize the page. So I'm zooming out so you can see how it's affecting the rest of the spread when I do this. I think that's fun. I'm not thinking at this point yet about the left of the spread. I know I will do something there, but right now I'm just working as I go. I think I'd like to draw the eye a little bit from the right page to the left again to overlap. And I'm also going to do, instead of doing the yarns in the weave that I was doing, I'm going to do the negative spaces in between the yarns in this case, just to break it up a bit and make a pop, make a statement. I like that. Mixing it up a bit. I noticed that there are about a dozen ovals that I'm pointing out there that are showing through from the background before I added the white paint. And I thought, okay, I'm bringing those circles forward. And it also brings the eye to the left of the page with some orange. I think that's fun. And I mean, wouldn't have thought of doing that, but I noticed that they were there and I brought them forward. And I love doing things like that. There are 10 of them there, and I like to do odd numbers. So I'm adding an 11th. I also like the number 11. So that brings the eye forward to the left side of the page. I think that's fun. And now I'm adding a little bit more color over the left area, but in a random way and a marbling background way. I'm not bringing out details because there are no details there. So I'm just smudging around some color. And as you can see with this Quinacridone Nicolazo Gold, what I love about it is when you add water, it shifts into this beautiful, bright Indian yellow. So it's the same paint, but depending on the amount of water, look at that, it becomes bright citrusy yellow. So what I like about this is I'm using the same color, but I've turned it into two shades of it. And now they look like two completely different colors, but they balance. Later on, what I'll do is the same kind of idea with the navy blue. It's navy blue all over, and I'd like to bring in a second shade of blue. And I'll show you how I do that in a minute. Right now I'm just adding a little more depth and interest. I'm going to spray some water there and let that spread a little bit. Now right now it's running towards the center seam, and it looks like a few streams of paint that almost look like they're blending with the yarns on the right side, and that's kind of cool. But I'm not too sure yet if I'll keep that. But I'm going, until I make that decision, I'm going to add in a few more of these negative spaces. And as you can see, as soon as it hits water, it goes bright yellow. And that's fun because now I've got two shades of yellow-orange. And it just creates more. To me, now I'm creating a whole bunch of interest here, a whole bunch of layers of depth. Now, when I look at the right side of the spread, I feel like there's 3 or 4 layers there, visual layers. Very busy, but completely different right and left, but fun. This area here now, like I said, with the navy, I find that whole right spread a little too noisy, too visually noisy. I want to calm down that busyness, so I'm going to use my pale blue, making it very, very watery. It's going to go down like milk, but it will dry. What I'm trying to do is soften that busyness a little bit, and I'm glazing with this. Now it will dry a little more clear than this. It's looking a little milky, but it will dry a little bit less heavy. And what I'm doing is just moving around and deciding what I'm going to keep and what I'm going to cover. I want to keep those orange strips there. And those 2 rectangular smudges of navy there, I'm going to keep those. I think they're fun. So again, I'm thinking and yet I'm not overthinking. I'm not over planning. I'm just moving my brush around and deciding what to cover up and what to leave. And in some cases, I don't add extra of that glaze. I just use what's left on the brush and fan it around so it ends up heavier in some areas like there and thinner towards the center of the page. And the harder I press with the brush without fresh paint on it, the more it just smudges and blends with what was in the background. I'm going to add a little bit more over here. again, just to soften this busyness. I want the story to be this basket weave and not too much other stuff. And I think that's worked. I would never have thought to pick up a blank book and just paint this detail. It's just happening because I did layers. I did background print collage, and then painting, and this is what I ended up with. It would not have occurred to me to do that. Now that second page that I keep omitting, that was so beautiful as it was. I didn't want to ever do anything to it. It said a story as it was. I don't need to touch it. This spread here, I'm crazy in love with, but I want to bring out just a hint of that color again, just to balance the book. But I don't want to overdo it. You'll see on this page, I don't do too much touch up at all because it's already my favorite spread. I love how all the negative spaces of that weave in the background are iridescent, changing colors from blue to green to bronze, and it tells a story already. I don't want to affect that at all. I don't want to paint over it. I don't want to change it. I'm just picking up a few little areas here to bring an accent color, but make it all work beautifully together. And that's it, like just another little touch up there, and that's it. I do not need to overwork this page. Just that last little bit. I love, love, love this spread. Again, I'm trying to just teach you that there are different options that you can tackle a scenario with. Now, because this page spread here I love as it is already, but I just want to add ever so subtly a hint of that same orange. So I took a paper towel and I'm dabbing it in the same color, and I'm just wiping it on, and then I'm going to wipe away. And the idea is just to have a hint of it in a cloudy way. Just a very a minor hint of it. That's all it needed. That's the most bold, but it's the middle of the book, and I thought, why not make a bold statement? And again, keep fanning that. Now, as I've got it right there, very often I take these little books and I stick them on my bookshelf and have them fanned open like that, and I love it. Rather than doing all this work and shutting the book and putting it away, I like to display it. I'm very happy with it now. Now I just have to deal with the closure. I had those beautiful buckle rings for tying it, but I need some ties. So I've got some organza ribbon here, and I'm just going to try some. Again, I didn't plan this. I'm just looking at options. So this is option one, and again, this is a gold organza ribbon. You could use anything you've got. And maybe someday down the road I might change it, but right now I'm just using this orange organza because it works with my color story. So I'm just knotting this twice onto the ring to make it secure. I'll do the same to the back ring. And what I'm going to do now, and I don't know if it'll work out, but I'm just doing a very loose twist. And then at the end I will tie the two strands together with a double knot. And then I'll snip the edges close to the knot, and they will fray. So what I've been doing is I use a lighter to singe the edge. Just be careful when you do that. You've probably done that on shoelaces or other ribbons, and it's just to keep it from fraying. So now I've got two loose strands of ties. It's weird. I've never seen it done before. I'm just trying things out. And again, you could change this to any ribbons you've got. It's interesting, it's different, it's delicate. I actually quite like it, but it would be hard to tie and untie all the time being a loose twist. So here's option 2, using the same organza. I want to do braiding, and as you know, for braiding you need 3 strands. So I have to tie a 3rd strand to each ring so that I could braid. I'm just finding the length and adding a little extra because I'll lose some of that length in tying the double knot to the ring. I've got these beautiful bronze Buddha heads, beads. I don't know if I'd love to use them, but they won't work. I don't end up using them because, number one, the organza yarn won't thread into the little holes. But number two, I love these buckle, I don't know what you call them, the closure with the ring. I love them as they are, and I find if I do these beads on the tip of the organza, it will draw the eye away from it. I want the focus to be at the rings there, the bronze buckle ring. I don't know what else to call it. I double knotted that so that it stays together, but I don't want them to pull apart on the ring, so I'm going to take one of the strings from the pair that were there, tie it to the new strand so that all 3 branch off together securely and don't separate. I cut that short close to the edge, and then later I will singe it. So now I've got 3 strands, and I'm just going to braid. I'm going to do a tight braid. The other was a loose twist. This is going to be a tight braid. The whole idea is to make a heavier cord, a braided cord, so that when I open and shut this book and tie it in a knot or a bow, it will be much more firm and it will take much more action over the years. So yes, it's a very tight braid. And at the end, I do a double knot. And because there's 3 strands, I knot it with 2 of them, and then I reverse and knot one of those with the 3rd one. I'm going to cut it short, close to the knot, and then I will carefully singe it. And what happens is you're stopping you're melting the organza so that the threads can't unravel. Careful, it's hot. So that's a fairly dense cord now, and I had the back done as well. So now I can either tie it just as a knot, or I could tie it in a bow. You could do it longer if you wanted, so you could do a bigger bow, but this is what I did. And as you can see, those little beads wouldn't work now. So I just put them aside. I'll use them for another project. I'm very happy with this book. Here it is sitting on a coffee table, which is what the whole purpose of this was. I would leave it open like that so people would be enticed to, but mostly I leave them on shelves or on a table just like this because I want people to be able to see it. Thank you so much for your support and watching. And I love doing this and I love sharing it with you. And I hope you watch more. Thanks again and have a great day.